happier tonight, in all honesty, than I was being inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame last month. I want to thank Sister Mary and Joan for those very kind words, and Mrs. Honickman especially for those very, very kind words. I come here tonight not to accept an award from me, but to celebrate the meaning of the Golden Heart, while I try to explain to you what I like to call the power of we, because I couldn't stand here without it. The power of we is the power of fingers forming a fist. It's the difference between a man and his team. I'd like to acknowledge my partner, Craig Spencer, who's sometimes seen as the silent partner. Craig is more than a business associate, he's my friend. We brought this team to Philadelphia together, and through the good and the bad, we also brought the city a champion. And I got out of I'd also like to say that without Leo Carlin, Steve Perna, Paul Corzelius, Sarah Peters, and Heather Poole, there would be no Soul Foundation. Without the tireless work of Mimi Boggs, there would have never been a successful Philadelphia Soul anything. Craig and I asked Mimi to run the Soul from its inception, but getting her wasn't going to be easy. So when we asked Mimi to come to a band event, we're backstage among the thousands of crazy, screaming women. I figured she would surely fall victim to my rock star charms. Needless to say, she passed. Mimi had already run the Eagles as their CFO under 3 different ownership groups. She was an IRS agent. Hell, from what I understand, she had a hell of an outside jump shot as the captain of her college basketball team. She could have easily walked away from me, but we seemed to make a connection on that afternoon about what we intended to do off the field. The Soul were going to make a difference. Now, for those of you who don't know our story, the Soul was named not after an aggressive animal or with a relation to our nation's birth. What we were going to build our foundation on and our name on was community. You see, I didn't care if you liked Bon Jovi. I didn't even care if you liked football. I believe in Philadelphia believed in a sense of community. And here, everyone believes they have soul. So before we played them down, before we sold a ticket, we found 4 very worthy charities, and we gave them what they needed, whether it was a playground and computers for the Northern Home for Children, if it was beds for the Covenant House, or just some money for an AIDS hospice. Soul were always there. And it was Mimi's shepherding and guidance that helped us through those formative years. For the first 2 years, our Robin Hood approach was working pretty well. But then very late, on a cold night in the winter of 2005, outside City Hall, I looked past my gilded cage at the Ritz-Carlton, and I saw a man sleeping on a makeshift bed. And I didn't think that this is what our forefathers had imagined for all their hard work. It was then and there that I found our foundation's focus, because this issue of homelessness was everywhere. It didn't care if you were young or old, if you were black and white. It didn't care if you were Republican, Democrat, a Giants fan, or an Eagles fan. It could affect anyone at any time. I called upon my best friend, Obie O'Brien, and I gave him a task. I said, find me somebody in Philadelphia who can shine the brightest light on this issue, somebody who cares and is knowledgeable, someone not jaded or corrupted. That's someone who could make the difference. I practically asked him to shine the Batman light up over William Penn's statue. But that's how we found Project H.O.M.E, led by Sister Mary Scully and Joe McConnell. And for the last 20 years, here in Philly, they've been like Butch and Sundance. They've been the Lone Ranger and Tonto. In fact, they have been my Batman and Robin. Sister Mary told Obie upon their first meeting that she'd been waiting for someone like me. What I was about to learn is that I've been waiting for someone like her. Here was somebody who could understand what it took to break the cycle of homelessness and poverty from both the perspective of the downtrodden in the alleyway to the highest levels of state and federal government. I had heard the stories of the Sister of Mercy who was arrested 4 times for advocating for the homeless. And with her trusted partner with a master's degree by her side, they sued the city and then Mayor Rendell for what is now known as the 1550 Fairmont Housing Initiative. Well, needless to say, the city lost. Not only did they win that battle, but after his re-election as your governor, Ed Rendell gave our foundation a big check to help us with the Phase 2 build at Project H.O.M.E. And today he's considered both a great friend and an advocate for the homeless. I have so many stories I'd like to share with you about my friends tonight, but I only have time for a few. Like the time when I asked President Clinton to come to Project H.O.M.E. I was traveling with him in Toronto after one of his Clinton Global Initiative fundraisers. He turned to me and he says, "What can I do for you?" It's pretty obvious. And on the day that he came to launch our foundation, and I promise you, within 5 minutes of his meeting Sister Mary, he said the same thing to me that so many have repeated time and time again. "You see why you hang around with her. And whatever you say or want, Sister Mary, I'm in." Let me tell you just one more anecdote. After we started getting some attention for our working together, a small cable network approached us with the idea of what was really a reality show. And they came to the Honolulu Learning Center to pitch us an idea of the nun, the rock star, and Habitat for Humanity. And how, blah, 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 we would garner all this attention and how they could be so wonderful and blah, blah, blah. And this went on way too long and I'm biting my tongue. Well, this TV pitch person, she's sort of digging that hole just deeper and deeper. And finally, Mary slaps her hand. I swear to God. This is where it all comes from. She slaps her hand, she says, "Believe me." She spits in her and starts cursing. And I mean cursing. My eyes go wide, my hands get pulled in because I'm fearing I'm going to get hit with the ruler and sick of me. So from then on, whenever I'd mention my Sister of Mercy, it was always with the introduction as the one who curses and spits. Now, in fact, I've immortalized her in my latest single, We Weren't Born to Follow. Verse 2, line 2. This one's about the one who curses and spits. Coach I've encountered thinks that line is about them. It's about my favorite nun, Sister Mary. In her defense, she's been so good about, accepting this moniker as her description, that she's so cool, she comes up and she goes, "I don't spit." So whether it's been on 60 Minutes now, or Oprah, from the London Times to Time Magazine, the cynical and the critical leave here with the same impression. Project H.O.M.E with our Sister Mary and Joan, they are the real deal. This is the best of the best, and the reason why we are all here tonight. They are the inspiration for our aspirations. They will make all of the me's in this room the power of we. So from the residents to the staff, from everyone here tonight, from the soul, and especially from me, thank you, Sister Mary, and thank you, Joan, for being you. May God keep you safe. I love you both. Thank you for this wonderful evening.